Thank goodness.
Welcome to the Hex Late Show. It's 43 OG here with you on a Tuesday afternoon in Europe, Tuesday evening in Australia, Tuesday morning in the US, wherever you are in the world. We're here to talk about Hex, and I've got the guys out the back. I've got Jexa. How are you, buddy?
Hey, how you going, mate?
Good, mate. And I've got Tangent. What's going on,
bro? Yo. All good.
So we've had, go on.
I'm just saying, just before we go too far down the track, we've got one person watching. Is that right?
It's on two channels.
Yeah, you're probably on the Hex Late Show channel, which is like our backup channel.
Yeah.
But you can watch us on Discord Syndicate. That's where all the fellas are. So shout out to all the guys and girls in the chat. We've got Finbear, we've got Bit Finesse, we've got DB Cooper, we've got Mango Junkie, we've got T-Bird, we've got Tin Top, Hex Enthusiast, Nas Hex, Sammy Chica.
Hi, Sammy.
We've got the crew. Dingo Wolf, we've got the crew. We've got the crew here. So it's good to have you guys here every week. That's why we come to talk about Hex.
It's good to have Tangent back with us as well.
Good to have Tangent back after
thanks to you guys.
His hiatus. Yeah, where did you go, man? What happened? Yeah, a bit too much partying to do. Hey, there was partying.
No. You know why? Did you?
I know the green room why, but you know the public why. I don't know.
Did you tell? I thought you told everyone on the last stream and got everyone to.
No, we didn't. We didn't say that. We just said.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
we just said you needed it. We just said that you needed a bit of Richard love and you needed to follow.
I actually wasn't going to make a fuss about it. I wasn't going to make a fuss about it because I'm not that kind of person. I wasn't going to cry about it, but yeah, it's all good. It's all good now. I'm an absolute look at my little name badge below. Hex Tangent.
I've seen that you're ramping it up, aren't you? You've I've seen some post about you're looking for raunchy girls or something.
No. I think someone just tagged me in that because
right.
I think Richard said in his interview on the Hexo one that he wanted more hot females in the Hex community or something like that. So people started tagging me in like a Twitter thread.
Oh, okay. I thought you must have been organising some big event with something like your drum and bass events with the.
Yeah, that's still happening. That's still happening.
Cool.
Man, I don't think we're doing anything for that side of things. I don't think we're getting any hot girls to watch crypto or get into crypto. Well, I can only speak for myself. I don't think I am.
Wait, do you guys know that you know how there's all sorts of accusations that haters use about Hex being a scam? One of the ones I heard lately was that they thought it was a red flag the number of females that were in the Hex community. They were like, that doesn't, and I can sort of see it. I can sort of see why they're saying that. They're basically saying, well, in crypto, that is atypical, right? That is not normal in crypto. Yeah. So they were like, that raised a bit of a red flag for them, that there's hot girls in the Hex community.
It's the big dick energy, bro. It's the big dick energy.
I think they may be saying that that's like paid promotion, or that they're somehow have been, you know, but it's not. It's obviously not. And typically they're like the friends and wives and partners of people who were already in Hex and that sort of thing. Not only, but as in the enthusiasm that surrounded Hex was unlike anything else. And I think there was a genuine spread out into the community, like into the non-crypto community, into the real world communities, that was beyond just like nerdy basement dwelling dudes.
Yeah. This is a gross generalization, and I'm probably going to get hammered in the chat by any females in the chat. But do you think it's, and this is going to sound a bit funny when we talk about crypto like this, there's a security element to Hex? And when I talk about security, so gross generalization again, don't hate me for it. Females in particular like to feel safe and secure, and have their financial needs, know that they got that covered, so they can, if they're raising kids or whatever. So, and the very design of Hex is about that. It's about generating that future income, that sort of mentality around it. It's longer term investing as opposed to pump and dump.
Oh.
And the reason why I say that is
I see what you're saying. Future security, future financial security over just get me a Lambo right now.
Yeah. And so I come from the property industry, and we see a lot, like that's quite heavy in females in the investing side, and buying investment properties and renovation properties and things like that, because it's the same thing. It's that safety and security mechanism, and it's something that they can, the passive income streams and things like that. You see that same thing in the property industry. So I don't know whether that's got anything to do with it. But
that's also in line with what Richard says about Richard and other thought leaders as well, in terms of like the diversity and gender roles and things like that where what women are prioritizing from their biological standpoint compared to what guys are prioritizing. I think you might be right that there's something about Hex that is more that does lean towards both mindsets, like both male and gender, male and female mindsets. Yeah.
Yep. And I think that's why Hex has actually attracted a certain sort of male investor as well. Like a lot of the guys that came into Hex and in the early days, even now as well, I shouldn't say that, but a lot of the guys that came into Hex seen that longer term viewpoint as well, and they've all come from business backgrounds. So a lot of people that came in initially have their own businesses, doing pretty well financially off the back of those as well, and just seeing this as another string to the bow in terms of an investment vehicle. And that's definitely what I see.
And Richard made other observations in terms of there being like a disproportionately high number of military personnel and stuff like that. So maybe there is something to this, that in terms of the mindset and types of people who were more likely to get involved, maybe there is something to this beyond what, because obviously Richard made those observations, but then he didn't take it a step further and try to look at the psychological underpinning of why that might be.
It's interesting because crypto attracts, I think, a certain demographic of people. A lot of them are looking for quick short-term gratification. You see an opportunity and you want to, make lots of money in a short amount of time. I think a lot of people get into crypto for that reason. So where Hex delineates from that is that, you know, people are, they're not forced, but you're pushed towards, and when I say pushed, that sounds like you're coerced. You're actually not. You make the decision yourself, but you're
incentivized.
You're incentivized. That's the correct word. Yeah, you're incentivized to think long term because the contract rewards you in a like a disproportionate way. It rewards you so much more, thinking long term, and that's completely different to anything else we've seen in crypto. So we've what the Hex contract is something that's completely different in crypto. And it's been, it gets called a scam, it gets called this, it gets called that. But at the end of the day, it is completely unique. It's this unique contract that no one has even come close to, in my opinion, creating anything as good as that contract. Maybe you can argue that like things like Uniswap have been like absolutely amazing. Like for the crypto
game
space,
changes. Yeah,
complete game changers. And there's more stuff coming. There's more stuff coming. Like, you know, as we were talking about Jexa, and we won't go into it like in this stream, maybe later on, but there's things to do with NFTs down the track. And we're not talking about fucking JPEGs, guys. We're just talking about like real use cases for these things that have to do with financial assets. Down the track, you know, once these things get built out, they're going to be game changing as well. But before we get on to anything else, I'm going to play a little clip, which sort of, I think explains why we're sort of all in crypto. So, and don't worry, Jexa, it's not the thing I played last week, which got the video taken down. Last week I played, so let me just explain. Last week I played something at the end of the stream which got the video taken down of Discourse Syndicate. It was like a lady with like her boob, but the boob was like painted with the guy's face. And she like did this thing where her boob, but the guy's face was like reading the paper. And what I was trying to do is I was trying to work out how smart the algo is. Like, can the algo work out that the face reading the paper is actually a boob? Right. And like, I'm constantly playing with these things. I want to know what the algo can work out. So on the thumbnail this week, it's got the writing and it's got the logos. But if you look closely, you can actually see it's a boob behind everything. So it's everything superimposed over a boob. So I'm tweaking these things, trying to work out how smart this algo is, what it can work out, what it can't work out. We're getting there, guys. We're getting there.
So those algos probably change faster than you can test and work it out. Same with search algorithms and things like that. You know what I mean?
Probably.
It's that constant cat and mouse thing. Can I just, before you play, can I just quickly tell you, I just saw on Twitter recently, some chick was like, I want to explore the boundaries of boobs in NFT art and like where the line would be in terms of when your art gets like censored and stuff like that. And Orca replied, said, send the concept art to my DMs and I'll investigate this matter further. For anyone who cares, I just retweeted it so you can see it on my Twitter right now.
That's hilarious. Day 43 playing with boobs to test the algo. I support this. Thank you, Cabana Crypto. I appreciate that.
It's very scientific.
Let me just play this. Now, this has got nothing to do with boobs, obviously. This has got to do with, like, not even really crypto, but it's got to do with what underpins the whole reason for crypto, in my opinion.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So, like, if you're wondering why people are getting into crypto, it's because maybe central banks are out of control. They're just like, they just print whatever they feel they need to print. And what people in crypto, maybe some of us don't, I mean, a lot of people out there they're in crypto, they may not even know this, but, you know, a lot of crypto, most crypto that's any good has some sort of limit or some sort of like stipulated supply or some sort of rule that it follows.
Yeah. The rules are known. The rules are known.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's not some people in back rooms working stuff out. So I think that's the main reason I think why crypto is existing. I mean, if we had decent sound money around the world, you know, would there be any need for crypto?
Yeah, it's a big question to try and answer, and I think there's been many brains try, but it seems like we're going to revisit the same thing again. Where there's there's some statistic like a fiat currencies only last, is it 100 years or something like that? Is the sort of the average or something?
Yeah, there's
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it looks like we're going to give that
British
a
pound
theory
is the
another
longest
shake.
standing.
There was one that the British pound.
Pound, the British pound is the longest standing fiat currency
for a little bit longer, anyway.
There was one called the dinar. There was one called the dinar, I think, that was around for like 800 years, sometime after Christ. And it was very sound. It was very sound. I think it was that. It was.
Sorry, if I said longest standing, let me clarify. Longest standing that still currently exists. Yeah, sorry, there may have been like longer spans of fiats that no longer exist. Yeah.
And now US dollars pumping against everything at the moment. It's
and all bonds are being bought up at the moment. I saw them all like in green. So I wonder whether the US is buying up into like other currencies' bonds. I wonder whether they're doing that with all like.
I know the UK is buying their own
because their shit's worth so much more against everyone else's. So it's for them, it's worth their while like buying shit while their shit's worth more, right?
Buying other people's shit.
Yeah.
Why do they need to buy other people's? They'll just sell them their own shit.
But if those guys, they can't buy the US ones because the US ones are too expensive for them, and they're like in such crisis that they probably can't buy. Oh, look, can I just say, I don't know anything about this stuff. I'm just like, table, like napkin, whatever, trying to
napkin postage stamp economist.
I've been putting a concerted effort into try and understand a lot more, and it's pretty crazy. Lynn Oldham. She was on.
Oh yeah, I'm a fan.
Yeah,
I'm signed up to the newsletter. Actually, it's free. You can sign up to the newsletter, and it just comes into your email, and it's like got like sort of macroeconomic and Bitcoin analysis, that sort of thing. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, I think it might have even been a Peter McCormack thing. It was a Peter McCormack thing. She was on 2 days ago or a day ago. Really detailed breakdown of the macro stuff. If you're into that sort of thing, and you can handle having Peter on the show, worth a listen.
I mean, if he's just playing an interviewing role, then it's bearable.
Yeah, that's right. So she's goes really deep on it, and I was listening to it as I was drifting off to sleep, so I've got to go back and re-listen to it. But I probably caught about 25% of what she was saying.
We should probably address the most important piece of information that's hit the Hex community this week. Yeah?
What's
Richard's
that? Oh, yeah.
Feel that the security considerations for Pulse Chain's consensus strength are very, 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 very similar to Ethereum 2.0's. If that makes sense to you.
Makes sense.
We're forking Ethereum 2.0, not Ethereum 1.0. So you beat it out of me, you fucks. You wore me down, okay? So the logic was, do we have more faith in the BSC consensus, which we found flaws in, or rotating to several other options of not very well audited consensus, or the extremely well audited Ethereum 2.0 consensus. And my logic is that if you're going to make things right, doing them during a bear is a beautiful time to do it. And I think it will be quicker to use Ethereum 2.0's consensus than to properly audit and secure Parelia, which is a version of Click, which is what has a lot of problems. And so it was maximum secure and minimum time to market, because we didn't know, like, you didn't know whether the merge was going to work right. Could have not worked right. And you didn't know if they'd ever get to doing it because the delays were nearly endless.
Yep.
But after they did it, and after it worked right, it was the obvious choice. And so Pulse Chain will have upgrades, but be primarily the same consensus mechanism that Ethereum 2.0 uses, but is now called Ethereum 1, right? Like, no one it's not, right. Ethereum 2 is now Ethereum 1 since the merge worked. So it's strong, it's safer, it's faster, and any upgrades that come in the future for Ethereum, such as sharding, we will get on our chain. And we wouldn't have got had we stayed with Ethereum 1, because the forks would have diverged. And so it's just better. So we're doing what's better, and it didn't take us any extra time to do it.
That probably created more
That's huge
questions than actual answers that were given off the back of that.
That's such big news, though. That's such big news, because we thought consensus was going to be like BSC consensus.
Yep.
A fork of that, like, or whatever. Like, so now it's going to be. So, but he did say there very specifically, Pulse Chain is going to have upgrades. Yeah. So there's going to be some changes, and like,
so should we speculate on those possible changes now? And
There's
bear in mind,
gonna
we've
be
got no
different
frigging
parameters.
clue, but
It won't be a direct
can I have
problem,
can I make a, like, so my understanding of how Ethereum works is that if you want to be a validator, you need to stake 32 ETH. So I'm assuming if you want to be a validator in Pulse Chain, it's going to be more than 32 Pulse. Okay, so that's
no,
32 million.
Bro. Ours will still be DPoS. It's not. They're not.
I don't know about that.
I don't know, man.
I hope it is, but I don't think it will be, mate.
I hope you're right. But they're copying. They're copying that. So now the everything's changed, right? It's like it's a different base that they're starting from. They're not starting from that base of the BSC base. They're starting with the proof of the Ethereum proof of stake base. So look, I don't know enough about this stuff, but that's one thing I think that's going to change. I think it's going to. Now, the other thing I think is going to change is that if and look, don't berate me for not being precise in what I'm saying here, because I don't know exactly how this side of it works on Ethereum. But if you want to stake your Ethereum, but you don't want to be a validator, you can, you've got to basically you have to give your ETH to someone else to manage for you, essentially. That's my understanding of how it works.
Well, that's and I think that's what Lido and a few others, that's the service they're providing, essentially.
So I don't think Pulse Chain would do that, because there's been such an emphasis in the community about holding your own keys. I mean, that's just me. That's two things I think will be different, but I don't. And maybe there'll be a change to whatever it costs to end stake. I don't know, like S-load stuff. Maybe there'll be a change to that as well, so that there's plenty of life. Even if there's an increase in the Pulse price, we're not going to see just crazy end stake costs.
So I guess if you changed nothing other than the token supply, so let's just assume that was the base scenario. So forked across, but inflated the supply, that would buy you time initially. So obviously you've got a lower cost per token, and the sheer volume of the tokens would mean that there'd be plenty of runway for that to go up over time. But that's not really doing any technical innovation. That's just purely changing the token supply and the function of the price of it. So over time, that will hit the same issue. I don't.
And by the way, if you sacrificed for Pulse, sorry to cut in here, if you sacrifice for Pulse, and we're in that situation where it's expensive to end stake on the Pulse network, you might very well be like very wealthy in terms of Pulse.
But remember that the traffic's going to be a lot lower, right? So the blocks won't be as full. Even if you copied the identical consensus algorithm, which I don't think he's going to do, you would still have cheaper, faster transactions just because there'd be less load.
So the things that Richard was trying to do was increase the block size so that gets around issues with the S load and things like you can cram more into a block, and speed. So if you're going to use the same consensus mechanism and it's anyone can be a validator, so it's not limited to 33 validators, that's a constraint on how fast you can make, and how fast and how large you can make the blocks, because it's how quickly something can propagate. So it's going to be interesting to see whether you have a limited set of validators to be able to enable that, or you keep it more vanilla like ETH 2.0 where anyone can be a validator. And if you're going to have anyone can be a validator, then you're not going to have DPoS because anyone can do it, but you're still going to have the same issue that you mentioned, 43, where even if you say to the no one should be handing over their coins to someone else, anyone can make a service that takes people's Pulse and sets up a validator for them. So I don't know that's something you can control.
Like trustlessly?
No.
You're saying you can't stop someone offering.
You can't stop someone. Yeah, that's right.
I agree with you. Yes. But the community would rally against that and try to educate people to not do it.
You can't stop
no reason for it. Yeah. No, but as in, people would be like, "Yo, don't be stupid. Like, you can just do this without the trust. Like you're taking a risk for literally no reason here." If it
sounds like something Maximus would get onto and sort out with some sort of clever contract.
I've started to make a list based off what you guys are saying, and I encourage anyone else to DM me if there are questions that you have in your mind that you think are unanswered. I will craft it into an efficient tweet, and then I'll tweet it out saying like, "Yo, Richard, these are the things that now we're unsure on. Are you able to answer any of these? Just, you don't have to answer all of them, just the ones that you are able to answer to give us some kind of clarity." And then he can either choose to answer none of them, all of them, or something in between. So hit me up, guys. Like if there's ones that haven't.
And if there's anyone in the chat that knows any more than we do on how the consensus in ETH 2.0 works, by all means, pop up as well.
I remember I got into an argument with Eric Wall on Twitter. Not argument, disagreement. Where he was like, it's going to be a fork of BSC. And I was like, nah, buddy, it's ETH. And then we went back and forth for a bit and then realized that we were both right. It was Ethereum system state with BSC consensus algorithm. So he was talking about the consensus algorithm. I was talking about the system state. So we were technically both right. It's just we weren't clear enough with each other what we were talking about. Now it looks like I was right on both, Eric. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, it's...
Okay, so
I hope that joke highlights though that when someone is like acts like they're a genius because of something that they got right that they couldn't have known at the time, but it just turned out that way. I hope you guys can see how ridiculous that is. I'm not going to mention any names, but some people are like, "Aha, I was right about that." It's like, bro, you couldn't have known that at the time. Don't act like you could tell the future. So
can you sorry, can you please mention names? Who the fuck are you talking about?
No, definitely no, definitely not, man.
Type it in the private chat. I need to know this shit.
Okay, I cannot continue. Don't say it. There's been enough infighting, man.
I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it.
Shit, people probably be counting keystrokes now.
You typed Jexa.
No, I did not. When Jexter said that, I hadn't even typed it out yet. Sorry, I hadn't even hit enter. I typed it, but I hadn't hit enter. Anyway, let's move on. So yeah, that's interesting, scary. What people are starting to now say that it won't be released until early next year. Oh, that would be devastating to me, and others. So yeah, what do you guys think? What are your revised sort of? Obviously, nothing will be held against you, but what do you guys think now about a launch date?
After Christmas.
So effectively next year, effectively early next year. Or you mean in that gap? You mean in that gap between Christmas and New Year?
That's
like
ideal.
Gaps, okay.
Hey, we have all sorts of people like who come into our all sorts of people who come into. We are a diverse bunch, I guess, aren't we?
You know.
Welcome,
every
Bernie.
other time that someone has given like a real far out estimate of Pulse, like, oh, it won't be out until November or whatever like that. Earlier this year, when people were saying that, I've always in my mind been like, no way, it's not going to take long. This is the first time that someone has given an estimate that's out there where I'm like, that actually sounds reasonable now. This is the first time where I've been like, yeah, fair enough. That probably sounds about right. So early January next year.
Yeah, I'd chucked out the date of March next year. That was obviously before all this has come about. Do you think this brings forward the date though? Because let's face it, everything.
More clear path.
Well, everything's
maybe
you're not trying
they're
to
starting again. They're starting
that meme about the red team and the blue team making the purple team. Now it's real because they've just now they don't have to split the teams onto different options and shit. Now it's like all devs, one focused. You're right. This could actually help to speed things up. Good point.
Well,
but they might be starting again. It could be starting again, or no. Hang on. A lot of the shit that's being built out has nothing to do with the consensus. Like we're talking about front ends like Pulse X. We're talking about bridges. We're talking about wallets. All that stuff doesn't change. Like that just keeps. That's as useful. The only thing that would have changed would have been the consensus stuff, I guess.
Oh yeah.
But they're not behind now because they've got this new shit that's just brand new and it's all audited and it works. So they're not actually behind. They're still ahead. Do you know what I mean? They're still.
You're not trying to bash something into shape. So with BSC, they were bashing it into shape and changing things. And whereas now you've got this thing that is operational and depending on what they're changing. And that's why I think the DPOS thing and stuff, that would be a major shift to do that. So that's why I just don't see that that's going to be a thing.
Hey, actually, can I clarify something about the Binance thing that Richard didn't specifically say in that stream where someone asked the question of him saying, hey, wasn't it just a bridge that was the stuff up with all those billions of Binance tokens that got stolen or whatever? It was an internal bridge. So we're not talking about bridging from like other EVM chains to Binance. It was the bridge internally between the smart contract layer and the base chain layer or whatever the BNB. So
because they've got two chains. Yeah, so they've got the Binance Smart Chain and Binance Chain.
So it absolutely counts as a problem with their network because that's how they've structured it. And this is what you guys are saying now because Pulse Chain's being built from the ground up with all of these sorts of lessons learned. And Richard actually said very early on that was one of the advantages over BSC was that it wasn't that, oh, hey, how can we get this existing token that we have and somehow incorporate it and give it value by having it as part of the network? It's which obviously then creates potential for problems like this.
So there was a comment in the chat. There's a comment in the chat about do we think it would be better for the launch of Pulse Chain before or after the movie?
I'm saying after.
There's arguments in both directions, aren't there?
I think maximum eyeballs on Hex and the community, and then it launches, and then people can come across and play. And be
I'll give you the main arguments that I've heard that I think are good. Is in one direction, it's you want Pulse to exist, so people when they finish watching the movie, they're hell yeah, and they can
on board straight away. That's what you want.
That's the
In my
argument for
opinion.
having Pulse existing. And then on the other, what was the other argument? Did Jexa just do the other side? You just did the other side, right?
Yeah, well, I think you want
chain
probably
second.
clear that it's very clear now that there's going to. I don't even know if there's going to be a mention of Pulse Chain in the movie. Because
surely it'd have to be almost accidentally mentioned by when people are being interviewed, unless they chop it out deliberately. Yeah, maybe they can just tweak it to not mention Pulse Chain or something.
I think it's done. I think whatever it is finished.
Oh,
so if it's,
it also matters what the buyer of the movie wants to do. Like if they're going to buy it when they want to launch it, matters as well, right? You know, but I'm sure that would be in the negotiations there, right?
Part of the contract. Yep.
Part of the negotiation would be that.
And that's assuming you can even sell this shit. Like, who knows? Are you going to find a buyer for it?
Don't they just need to, like, didn't they get the money in advance? Don't they just like give it away, sort of? Like, isn't that the idea?
No,
like,
I don't think it works like that.
No.
You spend money making a film. You want to get a return on that.
So if no one, what do you mean you spend money? People donated money for that film. There's no spending of money. It's money that they were donated.
Yeah. No, I get that. So, but and I don't know whether all the donations covered the entirety of the movie. I suspect it.
I would say it didn't Godwell throw in like 100 mil or something? It would easily have covered it. I thought there was some mega. I thought there was some mega donation.
Look, this is not something we should probably get the people who know about it, like Kinetics and you know, RG3 to word us up on, you know, what the deal is. But I would have thought that worst case scenario, you chuck that shit up on YouTube and you fucking just put it out there. Worst case scenario. People will still watch a document, like a well-produced documentary. People will still watch it on YouTube, man. Do you know, I watched.
You'd be burning your ability to get a network deal with Netflix or something if you did that, because they're not going to buy something.
No, he's saying if you couldn't.
That won't be a problem, man. They're desperate for content. Those streaming services are desperate for content. They love it. They love that shit. There'll be no problem getting it on at least one of them.
You know that sound that Netflix makes when you like turn it on the first time? It's dum. Can you imagine if like it's dum and then Richard Hart's fucking face is right there, like on the
like trending globally. It's like trending globally, #1 watched in the world, and you just turn it on. I'd lose my shit, man.
That will be surreal. Because usually it's like Coco Melon and on my Netflix anyway. It's like,
by the way,
you guys don't know what hang on. You guys don't know what Coco Melon is, do you? You don't know what Coco Melon is. Okay.
You know how
your kids are clearly over the age of 7, and Tangent, your kids are clearly, you know, preconception.
So, you know, what were we just talking about? Oh yeah, you know how people talk about adoption and stuff like that, adoption and awareness of crypto and stuff like that. This will, if this ends up on a major streaming service, even if those people who watch it for some reason say, "Oh, this is confusing me," or this does actually look scammy, or what, however it is, it will help with general crypto awareness and adoption. Having something as crypto focused as this being featured on one of those popular services, and the quality of it is the right level for them to actually take it on. And also, you know how they want stuff that's controversial. They want stuff that's like, they want storylines that people will watch and, you know, and tell their friends to watch and shit like that. Yeah. This does make
good, bad, or otherwise. They just want attention. So whether they just want more eyeballs and clicks and
smart movie producers like directors and that will know that they should present something in the most unbiased fashion, so that because they're not crypto experts necessarily, right? So by the time it comes out, they would have had in their mind, look, this could go either way. We don't know for sure. Maybe this coin won't exist by the time the movie comes out. So I imagine they will have done it in a way that the movie plays no matter what. no matter what the outcome, whether it's like on the moon or zero, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so they're just there to capture the story and put their obviously they put their flavor on it, and that's at the end of Tiger King. Who was the villain and who was the good person out of that between? Was it Carol and what was it? And the actual Tiger King? What's his name? Bloody can't remember his name now. But they played both parts of the story, and you'd start to like one character and say, well, he's the good guy, and then it'd flip and hang on, just because they were showing different sides of the story. So there was they weren't actually driving who was the villain in it. They were putting it out there so you could make your own decision on it. My thoughts are that seems to be what these guys have done as well, where they've laid it out there. That was sort of the impression I got, and I think who are the guys that are so Eric's obviously participated in it, and then there was the other guy more recently. Who was that? The guy who's been slinging shit on hexagons for a while. Goes on crypto banter. His name
Ran?
No.
Not Coach K. Not who else goes on banter? Fake Raoul Paul.
Mike, sorry. Thanks, par excellence. Mike Alfred.
Okay.
The guy who got his mum.
Notice how
he got his mum to buy the top, the Bitcoin top.
If you step to the Hex community, your mum will end up with a Twitter account. Just note that, okay? Just note that. It's worth noting. If you don't want your mum to be on Twitter, don't fuck around. Keep your shit straight.
Yeah, good old Mike Hunt. So Mike, he's just damn annoying. Eric, I blocked him for a little while, but I unblocked him because I reckon he's funny. He's the ultimate troll.
Yeah. You've got to see through, you've just got to see that what he's doing when he's tweeting. He's 100% always trolling. He's
So why did we go down that track? Well, I think the fact that someone like Mike Alfred agreed to participate in it probably shows that there was a bit of a balance, you would like to think. No one would put themselves up there just to get absolutely smashed if they weren't, if they were just going to be made the butt of the joke on it.
And Eric Wall's in there as well.
Yeah.
I think they put out an open invite to anyone who wanted to come in and say what they want to say. Provided you're not a complete nobody. I was just thinking, in those old school games, how you choose like your race and your class. You like I'm an elven warrior, or I'm like a troll paladin, or whatever it is, right? It's almost like on Twitter, you need multiple. Like if you want to play a different game, like if you want to play in a different role, you need to re-roll your character or have like a separate account.
Yeah.
You guys are not getting my video game references, but
to be honest, I was actually reading chat and stuff, so I wasn't paying total attention. But
so I think that's the way to do it. That is, you either have you either have a second Twitter account for playing the game a different way, or you just re-roll, which is what Orca did, where you re-roll, you just delete your account, start again.
Yeah.
So I think I just want to talk about one other thing that happened in the Hex community. I'm not going to talk about but there was something that was launched, and there was someone that came and engaged with the community. And I guess the point that I want to make, and the reason I'm bringing this up, is that we should always be aware. And I'm not saying that this was in any way, I thought this was like a benign type of thing that happened. I don't think that this was, I don't think this really hurt anyone. Maybe. I don't think it hurt anyone. But I think that we need to be aware, in the Hex community, that we are a force. The Hex community is a force. There's people know that they can come and get engagement when they come to the Hex community and start talking about stuff, right? So we should always be aware that there's a potential for people to come in and use that to their benefit and to the detriment of hexagons. And once again, I'm not saying that that's what's happened in the past week. I'm just pointing out that maybe we were lucky in this case that there was nothing really bad happened, but it could easily be bad, and it could easily get people wrecked if it was someone with, bad intentions. So I think it's always.
Do you think that on the way in they realize that they're coming in to have a dance with the devil because they think that they're gonna get all that free engagement, but then if they fuck around and don't step correct, then hexagons will absolutely shred the shit out of them, like in a good way, like as in go and find all their old shit, dig up their old shit, call them out, like, you know what I mean? It's not a toll-free bridge to engagement, and they probably don't realize that as they're crossing it. You know what I mean?
It's definitely a double-edged sword. Yeah.
I think anyone that is going to put themselves out there and do anything like that, they'd be pretty naive if they weren't aware of that fact. I mean, we've seen, and some of what's happened with Dodeca, I think, is not great. Like, there's some people that have gone really hard line on Dodeca. Obviously, it was.
I never got involved.
No, I never got involved either. And I came out and said something. My comment was my spidey senses are tingling on this one, but that I didn't know what was going to happen. Once again, tangents, like no one knows what the future is going to hold. That one went a little bit sideways. But what I find funny is people participated in a sacrifice. And the very nature of a sacrifice is don't have any expectations. But then shit went sideways, and then all of a sudden, everyone's got all these expectations. So understand that if you chuck your money into one of these slot machines and it doesn't spit out something, that's on you. So you've got to be doing your research.
And we have to be looking out for each other as well, because we've seen a lot of airdrops. We've seen a lot of people come into the community and leave the community. We've seen, but not everyone has seen what we've seen happen over the last 2 to 3 years. So there's people coming into the community now. They feel, and this is what's crazy about it from my perspective. They feel like they're behind. They're like, I don't have the bags that the early guys do. It's like, but that's the same in anything, right? That's the same in anything. But let me tell you one thing about Hex in particular. Look at the price of Hex right now. Hex is 3.2 cents. Do you know Hex was 2 cents? It was 2 cents in December of 2020. December of 2020, it was 2 cents. It hit 2 cents. So now it's 3.2 cents, right? So there's opportunity. There's opportunity out there, right? And you gotta look. You got to look for the opportunity and not be like crying that you didn't get into Bitcoin. Like, you didn't get into Bitcoin either in 2010. Fucking don't cry about it. Buy the fucking dip and shut the fuck up. Yeah. Like, seriously, it's as simple as that.
There's only two ways to look at it, right? So if you think that there's a realistic chance that the crypto you're investing in will actually go to zero, we're talking those death forever charts that Richard talks about, then you need to plan accordingly, invest accordingly. If you believe that a specific crypto, and I'm specifically thinking about Bitcoin and Hex here, which have been my two favorites for like as long as I can remember now, years at least. If you have the conviction that at some point that thing is going to go and make new all-time highs, which every quality crypto in the past has done on every cycle, then you need to act accordingly. That's it's as simple as that. If you either have the conviction or you don't. And when I look at all the things that the Hex community has achieved in terms of racing cars, and just too much to list, I'm not even going to try. It's like, I can't imagine that all just like disappearing into thin air like most of the altcoins that end up going zero. It's because they're based off the hype of a single Telegram group or a single Twitter feed or a single small community that's just hyping it up, pump and dump groups, influencers that have been paid. Note that in Hex, the people that promote it, or not, I shouldn't use the word promote, the people who are like endorse it and advocate for it, none of them have been paid as far as I'm aware. Not a single Hex fan has ever been paid for producing any content as far as I'm aware. And so that's a massive difference. Like that, I'm looking at those differences, and that's part of what gives me the conviction that Hex is not going away. But you need to make that decision. Each person has to make that decision themselves. You need to think deeply about whether you think there, because I am starting to see people going, jumping on that Mike Alfred shit of like, no, I think Hex actually is heading to zero. And if you think that, then obviously don't buy it. Like, sorry, I'm not financial advice. Obviously, then in someone with that thesis would not, they would be stupid to purchase something that they genuinely believe is heading to zero. But but if you're not, if you're convicted.
One thing that is different about Hex than I think any other crypto out there is the fact that you've got the ability to lock up, lock up your value for 15 years, up to 15 years, I should say. So from 1 day up to 5,555 days. So, the people who do that locking up for that long period of time, whether it be 5 years, whether it be 10 years, whether it be 15, they're around. They're going to be around, unless they, I guess they pass away, or there's some strange reason why they're not going to be around. They're going to be around to get that value, whether it be the full amount of time or whether they decide whether Hex pumps earlier and it's just too hard for them to, see the full. Because, halfway through your stake, if you've got a long stake of 10 years, halfway through, you can end stake and get all your principal back. So if you were to lock up, let's say 10,000 Hex for 10 years, halfway through, if Hex just went to $20, right? And I'm pulling that number out of my ass, right? Fully out of my ass. If Hex went to $20 and it's just too hard for you not to just take your 10,000 Hex back after half the time and just sell it. Maybe you just think, I don't want to wait all that time. Let me just take that $200,000 now and run.
We've seen a lot of emergency end stakes of huge size that I just didn't think I would see in this cycle. We're still early days. I was really stunned by some of them I've seen, and guys that the accounts that were doing it, I don't think they'd be hard up for $1. Maybe they were. Who knows? Maybe that was everything they had. It's a lot to leave on the table if you can't.
But you've got to remember everything scales up by like it's percentage terms, right? So say someone had become a billionaire or like a hundred millionaire on paper with their Hex stack. They see 94% of that get wiped out. That's $94 million. $94 million that you have just seen disappear off your shit, and the shit is still heading down. You'd be like, okay, if this does another 50, soon I'm not even going to be a millionaire anymore. Like, as in, this is not me. I'm saying for someone in that position.
Yeah.
You might, and say your shit's locked up in stakes. You might be like, you know what? I'm just going to maintain millionaire status at whatever the cost, i.e., the emergency end stake dump. Yes, I might be selling the bottom, but at least I will be a millionaire. Whereas if this goes down another like 80% from here, I'm going to be sub-millionaire status after having the belief that you are a decker, like a multi-decker millionaire you know what I mean? Like, so you've got to remember this psychological trickery, it affects everyone at all scales. It's not just
yeah.
Oh yeah. And in fact, sometimes that might even be even more difficult to bear psychologically, being like, holy shit, I could have bought like islands and jet aircraft carriers and shit. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, imagine what you would be thinking, what you could have bought with the amount of money you've just lost on paper. It would be insane.
So I think that's something. If you're going to play in this game and you're going to lock things up for 15 years, you got to learn to ride that shit out because it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And if you want to sell it all in one go as well, you know, you're going to be paying for Australian Parliament wages for a year. That's what you'll be doing. If you're selling 100 mil, you know, just get ready to pay that tax bill. My God.
And trust me, they're not spending it that well.
I guess the good news is that the dumpage would have been. Oh, it's actually hard to say. It's actually hard to say whether this idea that because it's locked, then you can't dump as hard because penalties go to the stakers and to the OA. It's possible that those people might have sold more on the way up, like so, because you know how it helps you to hold, so you hold for bigger gains. So there's two things going on. Would that person did the lock convince them to hold further into the gains? So now, sure, they're getting a penalty for unlocking, but it could still actually be at a higher price than if they had sort of scaled out. So it's hard to actually know the exact dynamics of how the dumping occurs. But
I think I guess the carrot, if you can hold through all these dips, and obviously the staking helps you do that, and you go through one of these bear markets, when we come out the other side of that, your token count is going to be substantially more. And when we get back up into the fist pumping days where we're in another bull run, all the other guys that have, like, people have slung shit at Hex and said, "Oh, it's 95% down." Yeah, that's true. A lot of projects are down pretty hard, but when we get back up, it will be magnified, and that's what isn't reflected in the chart. So you don't see that.
Something I heard something recently where someone said, try to think of crypto as you identify the projects that you want to obtain, and then it is literally a mission to collect as many of those tokens as possible. So you see this in the Bitcoin community when they talk about stacking sats, right? It doesn't matter that like sats is the smallest unit. It's that attitude of like, I just want to get as many micro units of this thing as possible because I believe in it and I just want to have as much. So it's that bias towards collection of as much as you can, not what is it worth right now? How rich am I? Can I buy a Lambo yet? It's more about the hoarding, like that hoarding mentality of the thing that you know and love.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, and I think that attitude would probably serve people well with something like Hex, that, like you said, once it turns around and goes back up, every additional unit that you've achieved at the lower levels is going to be, you're going to feel like a genius.
Yeah, I've had two people out of the blue hit me up today wanting to find out how they can get into Hex.
Nice.
So two both from different friends. One from my doctor, of all people. He's one of his mates has hit me up. So I'm catching up with those guys. They don't actually. I don't know if he understands how perfect his timing is for coming into the crypto market in general. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting conversation tomorrow morning. But
some people do just get lucky on timing, like where they just end up at the start of a bull market. Yeah, it's got to happen to some.
Yep.
I've got a similar story actually. You know, did I tell you guys about how I've been asked to be an expert witness in a cryptocurrency related criminal case?
Yeah, you mentioned you were writing a draft.
No
letter
shit.
or something.
Yeah. So I'm going to be an expert. I'm not allowed to give details of the case, but I'm allowed to mention that I am an expert witness in the case. So the court appearance will be in almost exactly a month, and I had to write an expert report that normally needs to be given in 6 weeks before the court, because to give like the opposing counsel time to like read it and digest it and that sort of thing. but we're doing it 4 weeks out because the lawyer only just found me. But the point is, while we were meeting to discuss like how I have to structure the report, etc., he actually asked me, he said, oh, like my brother or my brother-in-law is like really into crypto and is always trying to get me into it. What do you think? What do you think of my portfolio? And I always advise people not to do that. Like when people try to show me their portfolio, I'm like, either turn it on percentage only or just don't show me at all. Like I always recommend you never tell anyone about your crypto holdings at all. Like, or even hopefully that you even have any crypto. But anyway, he wanted to get my opinion, like being the expert. And it was nearly 100% Lunar Classic. And I was like, bro, you know, there's a red notice out for the founder of that coin. Told him that it literally just collapsed previously, and this is like the kind of, I don't even know how it works. I think there's 2 now, but I was just like, I was like, look, normally I don't tell people what to buy and sell, but I would get the fuck out of that thing. And he said, "Oh, what are your favorites?" And I told him Bitcoin and Hex.
People are still trading Luna C, man. Like that's, and even the stable coin. The stable coin went up 35% today.
Wow.
Only up. It's at 5 cents.
Guys, we're going to do something. I'm just going to jump in here. We're going to do something. Something a bit different. I'm just going to run through end staking for people, because we've had someone contact us and want to see what it's like to how do you end stake. So what I've got here is I'm actually on the Pulse Chain testnet. So can you see that?
What you needed? Yeah.
So as you can see here, I'm on Pulse Chain testnet. How do you get into Pulse Chain testnet? Well, Pulse Chain testnet won't be here. It won't be here. So you have to go to pulsechain.com, and on pulsechain.com on the front page, you're going to see a whole, like a few details. And those details.
Will it auto add it for you?
I think it auto adds it, but it's gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces, and you'll have to fill in the details in these spaces. Oh, there they are.
Sick.
There you go. That's the Pulse Chain testnet. Okay, so that's where we can do stuff. It doesn't actually cost us any money to play around with it, and we can do what we want to do. Let me X out of here. So what I did early on is I went to the faucet, and it gave me 10 test pulse, and then I swapped 5 of those test pulse for some hex, and it gave me 0.02 hex. So I could only stake 0.02 hex, unfortunately.
Did yours auto add just then? Did it? You know how like you had the thing open? Did it just fill all the stuff in for you?
No, it didn't.
Oh, I thought
you can do that. You can do that on PulseX. If you go to the PulseX, what is that called?
The exchange.
If you go to the exchange, I can't remember what the URL is. There's that auto.
So what I'm going to do to the person who wanted to know, to the people, you click here, you click connect your wallet. And this is a wallet I've whipped up. I'd never actually show you guys a wallet that is used just for OPSEC reasons, but
yep.
That's a wallet that got that.
Smart.
And then you go to stake, and it might take a little bit of time for everything to load up. But essentially, I've already staked that 0.02 hex. So I didn't even have a full hex. You don't have to stake a full hex. You can stake less than a full hex, which I don't really suggest on Ethereum. You know, it wouldn't really be worth it. But what you can see here is under active stakes, you've got the stake that I did earlier today, and it's still pending because the day hasn't ticked over. But from as far as end staking goes, the process is the same. So, and what's interesting is that if the day hasn't ticked over, when you end stake, you don't actually get any penalties. If that day ticks over, then you would actually get penalized for end staking before the time is up. So let me just click that end stake. I'll go end stake there. It's going to, MetaMask should ask me to confirm or maybe. There we go. By the way, I've never actually used this browser before, but I saw on MetaMask they support it, so I thought I'd give it a go.
Is this Opera, is it?
Yeah, it's got a VPN built into it though. I've never actually used this browser for crypto stuff, I should say. I have used the browser before. So there we go. It's essentially cancelled the stake because it didn't get a chance to get recorded in the contract. It was just pending. And now in my wallet here, I'll find, if I was end staking a real stake, I'd find my principal and interest here. And that's in your account. And that's it. I just wanted to show that because I had a question on how to do that stuff. So there you go.
That's legendary.
Actually, that's a good point. Someone, I mentioned a couple of people hit me up today. One of those people were after, they said, where's your go-to resource for new people coming into Hex so they can get up to speed? And I've created a long Google Doc that takes people through a bit of a journey. But do you guys know of any good videos, tutorials? Anyone in chat know of anything? I know Coffee's got a set
specifically
of videos
for what?
which are paid. Just onboarding into Hex.
So kind of like almost like to step them through everything, like, and maybe even getting to things that are derivative, like HSIs and things like that.
No.
So
vanilla Hex. Yeah, vanilla Hex. It's gotten way too complicated to even have that conversation with anyone.
Without knowing exactly what the resources are there, I would normally just say to someone, go to the hex.com Telegram and then just check the pin messages. And somewhere in there, it's got to be the best quality shit, right? Richard would have or hex.com has got some videos on it.
So it looks like we're getting a few links, how to pulse. So I'll have to check out those ones. But yeah, thanks, guys. That's good to know.
By the way, I do not endorse in any way, shape, or form the Opera VPN. I don't know if that shit's any good or not. Probably not. Sounds like some, some free VPN. Like, it sounds like some very logged VPN. So, yeah.
So
use it.
Expensive Taste. Sorry, Day43. So, chat has Expensive Taste. Is that on the Discord channel, or she got her own?
No, she's Discourse Syndicate. She's got how to do stuff on Discourse Syndicate. So
look that up.
Go check out the videos that she's done because they are like their demos, pretty much.
Yep.
Cool. Huh.
And someone's saying that howtopulse.com has got like some different stuff on
check those out.
Yep.
I think there was just so much content out there that it was hard to. And like you say, so Maddie got a link tree, and everyone's got so much information that is just overwhelming for people. So you need just something really, really simple and concise that can take them through. Tangent, you've been tinkering with a few forks lately. Do you want to have a little chat about some of the things you've been up to over on ETH Proof of Work?
Yeah, I guess we've been trying to keep an eye on the different things that have been going on there. And actually just literally last night, my time, so I don't know when that would be US time, Corey Costa had an interview with Chandler Guo. And I had decided that I was going to do like similar to what Orca did, but in a slightly different direction. I had decided that I was going to go full Hex Maxi as you can see by my name tag, until one of several things happens where I would believe that, you know, it's on its upward journey and doesn't require me to be so maxi-ish. So temporary hex maxi. And as part of that, I was not going to like tweet or promote or talk about or get involved in conversations with anything that was not directly hex, right? For that period. And then obviously, because I've been a bit of a fan of hex over on that forked chain, on the proof of work chain, because I'm a believer in proof of work. I'm a believer in, like, you know, the censorship resistance that we're seeing, like that we're seeing fall down on the proof of stake chain for various reasons in Ethereum. Yep. I thought that I was going to break my own rules of my hex maxi, my own hex maxi rules, to tweet that interview out. And Chandler himself said, he listed off some of the things that he's seeing grow in, and he considers himself just to be a community member, not a leader. Like he said, look, this is as much your chain as it is my chain. I don't, because it's what I thought was nice is he was basically saying, because it's a fork, the whales and all of that sort of thing, it's the same as the chain. So Vitalik is as much a whale on the proof of work side as he is on the proof of stake chain. You're in the same starting position as everyone else. There is no when someone does a new project, they typically position themselves in a way that will give themselves a financial advantage, and that there's nothing wrong with that. But he's just basically saying, look, I'm in the same position as I would have been on the other chain. I just wanted to, you know, help be a part of this community. And he was listing that.
Is he a miner?
He was a miner. So he doesn't mine anymore, but he was a massive miner.
He's not. You know, he's not linked to any mining. Like, he's not invested in any mining. He doesn't like.
His tightest connection
in any particular way.
His tightest connection to mining would be that he's close friends with people who are massive miners in China and that sort of thing. But he's not formally partnered with any of them. They're just his friends and his crypto network that is built over time.
Yeah. He just owns the keys.
You don't think he's running any
to the wallets that get the newly minted Ethereum. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. So
he's not actually on the record as being a miner, but he probably still is the guy who owns the keys.
Yeah, he painted, in my opinion, without him directly saying it, he painted a bit of a picture that he's always been ahead of the curve, right? Like, he gave multiple examples throughout crypto's history, because he's been in it like at least as long as me. I think maybe roughly the same amount of time. That each time that he's identified that a certain thing is getting crowded out, like he said, he was massive mining Ethereum on GPUs and owned a shit ton of GPUs in China. But when he realized that the network hash rate was going really, really, really high, he actually stopped doing it, and tried to find the next thing that was having a high growth rate, which I think he said was then basically the ICO era and investing in ICOs. Now, you can have your opinion on ICOs, and most people have got a bad taste in their mouth for the money lost. However, if you were in those at the start, it was highly profitable. So he gave these examples. I don't know if he was doing it deliberately, but it certainly sounded he was doing it fairly modestly, giving these examples of times where he's been ahead of the curve, and then basically also mentioned that he considers this particular fork to be in a similar position to that, where not a lot of people have identified how amazing it is, what the positive aspects of it. Price is less than 1% of the price of the other Ethereum, like of the Ethereum proof of stake and that sort of thing. So he sees it as being another one of these examples where you actually are at the start of the growth phase of that particular trend. And then it's whether you believe that this will actually take off or not.
I'd like to see an act of goodwill on his part to the Hexagon community. I'd like to see them adjust the S-load, costs for end staking.
I saw your question come up in the chat, and people like Red Squirrel and that were getting excited about, saying that's an excellent question. But unfortunately, I think it got flat because Corey did make an attempt at the end to do a Q&A, but I think he did miss your question. I don't know if you noticed, I slid one in about, because my handle on there is shitcoin fork. And so that was me asking about like privacy solutions, talking about like not having, decentralization means no leaders, no dictators. That was me talking about like, promoting proof of work and that sort of thing in the chat. And he did talk about privacy in the sense that he said all the contracts are there, which we already knew. I was hoping that he had heard that someone's actually like building some custom shit, like custom stuff, whether it's front ends or back ends on that chain. Yeah. But he was basically saying all it takes is someone to build a front end for Tornado Cash for privacy to exist on the chain. He was saying there's at least 5 or 6 DEXs now, at least 5 or 6 NFT platforms now, at least 5 or 6 something else that typically takes off early. But and basically saying that everything's moving and growing so fast on that chain that he doesn't even know. Like if you asked him what is the number one DEX, like what's the number one DEX by volume, what's the number one NFT platform by like amount of trades or amount of Ethereum spent on NFTs, he couldn't even tell you because it's so new and these platforms are all competing for that top spot. I've been really impressed with this DEX called PowerSwap. At the very start, we thought it was like maybe a cash grab because their marketing was we are going to be the number one DEX for this particular chain. And by the way, to bring this back so that I can maintain my Hex Maxi status, when when there's farming, you get to choose which liquidity pool pairs actually get the incentive token. They have got a Hex POW, so POW is their native, it's like the uni of their DEX. There's a Hex POW pair that gets incentive payouts in POW token, and there's also a Hedron POW pair. And when there were at the very start, when there was only 5 LPs being rewarded for when there were only 5 LPs being rewarded with incentives, Hex and Hedron were already in there. So it was like basically it was like Hex, Hedron, SHIB, ETHW itself, the native token, and POW were the only ones that were in there, and they have retained their status despite some of the admins in their official Telegram being a bit weird about like Hex's reputation for being a scam. They've maintained that shit. So I wouldn't surprise if there was either.
How could they not acknowledge would there be any other community that's gone onto that network? Like as hardcore as the Hex community?
We definitely went earliest and largest. And I think that was a factor that they identified that. Or there could be Hexicans within their team, maybe.
Why wouldn't they do things? That just seems, if you're trying to grow your network, why wouldn't you?
Yes, but let me moderate. So,
but it's like cutting off your nose to spite your face. If you've got like a community that is
43. I can answer it. I get what you're saying. I can answer it. So, at first, yes, it was to their benefit to do that, but subsequently, Hex has actually dropped down the volume list and is not the most. So if they just wanted to kind of always be jumping on the hype and being like, okay, this is the community that's most hype at the moment in terms of on-chain volume and activity, let's incentivize them. They could be rotating those pools. They don't have to stay. They could have pulled Hex and Hedron out of rotation and put different pools in there who are starting to show more activity, but they didn't. They kept us in. So does that answer your question?
That's good. That's great. That's really good.
So I was impressed by that. And so it's
I guess they should also, well. They also need to acknowledge the the way the Hex works. It's not something that you're constantly trading. It's something that you're staking.
That's true as well. Yeah, that's true as well.
You're letting it be. You're leaving it for a period of time. So there's that that difference between other stuff. And
that's
I think that's the two things there's 2 really big things that have come out actually there's 3. So first one is, hey, you got a free copy of all your shit over there. So happy days, free money. The second thing is it has actually allowed the Hex community to reach out to other communities that they probably wouldn't have normally had the chance to engage with as with a common mission. So I think that's actually good. It's a bit uniting. And like you say, there's a lot of things that went over there that were broken, and Hex wasn't one of the things that was broken. Now, regardless of what people think about it as a project, it was very
true
clear
DeFi.
Everything
demonstrated that Hex is true DeFi.
we shouted out to all the devs, the Hex devs that helped do this as well. So Alex and Dipcatcher and all those guys that actually flicked the switch to make everything work over there. Because although Hex is decentralized and you could have gone and interacted directly with the contract, having nice front ends obviously makes a big difference.
Absolutely.
Means that the average person can. So that was important that the community actually, the developers in the community got over there and supported it. So I don't think that would have been lost on them.
They were the first front ends, by the way. If I haven't already mentioned that on the stream with you guys, that Maxi and Hedron were literally the first functioning front ends over on that new chain. They just went immediately and made it so that people could swap, people could, look, you could argue that because something like KyberSwap did support it, but it was a setting change for them. They just added that network to an existing front end. So but in terms of, although I guess, look, arguments to be made about, but it's in terms of the speed of the support. That was very, very, very impressive, and certainly was critical to the Hex community being able to go over there and represent that hard. That was a critical aspect, because like you said, if that hadn't been there to facilitate us to actually go over there and get active, we would not, it would only be a handful of people who are able to do the whole interacting directly with smart contracts sort of thing. It would have been a tiny fraction.
Can you actually do that on their block explorer?
Oh, that's another good point. That's another good point, that even the block explorers weren't set up properly yet. So in terms of, so maybe not even
you needed
the block explorer is pretty shit, to be honest. Yeah. So a lot of the contracts aren't verified over there, which makes it really hard. I think there's two main block explorers. One of them seems to be based on Block Scout, if I'm not mistaken, which is the one that we're using on Pulse Chain, which is notoriously shit. And then OK Link or something, which seems to be the block explorer done by OKX Exchange, if I've got that right. That's
what do you guys reckon?
Red Squirrel just mentioned
Pulse Chain Block Explorer.
Say that again, 43.
What do you guys think about Pulse Chain Block Explorer and the whole? You can get the Etherscan. You can get the Etherscan type Block Explorer license for $2 million a year.
That sounds pricey.
That's
I reached out to those guys ages ago, and they were like, "No, we've got a year wait time, guys." I was like, okay, so either you're being dicks, or I mean,
it's $2
a year wait time. How many L1s are there? How many L1s can there be? There's not that many L1s. Who's in the queue, bro? This isn't a Starbucks. What? There's only 5 or 6 L1s, and some of them are what?
Yeah,
that's wild.
And I don't know whether it's as simple as buying the license. It's you got to get permission for them to. I don't know if it's just a license. I think there's a lot of integration.
If it's $2 million a year, just fucking build that shit. Just build that shit.
Well, that's the problem. So you can't use theirs because that's obviously licensed. So then you're back to you get something off the shelf, which is your Block Scout one, which is it is crap. So then, how much money do you invest in building a Block Explorer? It's one of those things it's a big undertaking.
It's one of those things that
Etherscan.
It needs to be. You need a Block Explorer.
Need it. Yeah. Oh no, you do. Yeah.
It makes everything seem legit. When you've got an Etherscan type experience, it's making the whole ecosystem feel legit.
It's not even about legit. It's
there
about
is a
making
Block Explorer for Pulse. There is one. It's the one where you can watch the blocks going across, or is that something different? Are you
that's a Block Scout.
Block Scout, yeah. But it's not great.
Oh, so that's not what you're talking. So that's not what you're talking about. You want the one where you can search addresses and search contracts and stuff like that. So one of them is just showing you. Yeah. One of them is just showing you what's actually going on with active blocks and what's going through.
No.
So do we not have both? Do we not have both?
Yeah, we've got a block explorer, but it's
okay, cool.
It's pretty rudimentary. Like you try and
we don't know how
follow the
far
file
along
things
that's
on
come.
there.
Like
Yeah.
they might have come along quite a.
No, I was
I mean,
using
how
it
long's
the
it?
other day. Not great.
No, but I mean that's version 2. Like
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
version
Yeah,
2B.
B2B.
Like maybe they haven't
True. Oh, yeah.
upgraded everything.
Good point. Good point. Hey,
maybe
Red
there's
Squirrel
shit
just
on
mentioned...
their local server. Maybe there's sorry for the delay, guys. I know there's a bit of a delay. Maybe what they've got on their servers is just like some much higher level shit, and when they decide to put it out there, it's we'll be pleasantly surprised. I don't know.
Yeah, look, I'm sure we'll survive regardless, and those tools will get built out over time. They're not. I think as long as you can, see what's going on, and I think the important thing is the ability to be able to interact with the contracts on the Explorer. That's the thing that makes DeFi is if all the front ends are offline, you've got some way of actually interacting with the protocol. So I think that's probably the most critical thing to have on there. Which it does do. You can verify the contracts on there, but it's just not as nice.
How many millions were sacrificed for free speech?
Yeah, I think we can afford a license.
Pulse X. I just saw the Pulse X one was almost $1 billion on the site, but obviously you would have to factor in if there was any like.
I just want to know stable coins, like just stable coins. You know, I think it was like
no idea.
I think combined there was somewhere in the order of 700 mil or something, wasn't it?
You used to be able to just look at the SAC address, but then funds have been moved out of there, so that's not the true representation anymore.
That's a couple of years of license at least, hey? That should get us through.
Careful, 43. Careful. Like someone in the chat said someone needs to pay the license, but that kind of talk can get you unfollowed, if you know what I mean. So, so
I'm not saying shit.
So
I'm just saying that
Etherscan
experience fucking rocks. That's all I'm saying. I'm just calling a spade a spade.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with the sentiment. So, final thing I was just going to say about ETHW is Red Squirrel just reminded me in the chat that same DEX Power Swap, they're making a bridge, and the founders have said that they're like aware of our community and how amazing it is. So no doubt that bridge will be, conducive to what Hex community wants to be able to do.
Very careful, peeps.
Of course. Just bridges are like a next level risk or an additional component of risk.
They have been pretty much the sole thing that's got hacked this cycle.
If you look at rect.news,
bridges between EVM chains,
bridge hacks.
Bridges between EVM like compatible chains is a different deal completely to like bridging between like non-compatible chains. Yep. So when the funds go into the same address on the other side.
So when they do.
Yeah, I mean that seems like. I mean, I don't know enough about bridges.
Yeah, they've absolutely been the new, like Jexa said, the majority of or lots of the big noteworthy hacks that have occurred that have been in the like tens to hundreds of millions of dollars have been bridge related.
If as a industry we can crack that nut this cycle,
that is going
next level.
So when you have like those jumps in technology, so like smartphones now, each generation of them is like it's the same shit, right? With a slightly better camera, slightly better screen, slightly better battery length, slightly better this, slightly better that. When you have those like quantum jumps in tech, like when a smartphone actually started to have like the ability to use like freaking touch screens and shit like that. That will be when they nail the trustless bridge. It'll be like when Dex has started. It'll be some Andre Cronje level shit. It will be epic, man. It'll be epic.
But that's the scalability problems fucking solved right there.
Do you know what
scalability is solved when you can just bridge trustlessly? That's scalability, man.
So someone said there's not enough financial incentive in creating the type of bridge that we want. So like I heard this on a podcast, and they had like a bit of a detailed explanation. They're like, look at if you put a team together and you were to solve that issue, where do you profit from that? It's not as high as other stuff that you can go and do in the space. So unfortunately, the financial incentive to create a trustless bridge is not. So it's people doing it like people who are truly in it for the tech, and for people who want to move the space forward.
Just thinking,
it's not the people who are like, let's get rich, which is typically one of the bigger driving forces.
But if you're part of a team that is already, you've made your millions out of your core product, and this is just additional.
Good point.
Like surely there's enough money floating around in the space. If
the value add to your existing cash grab is high enough, yes, I agree with you.
But I disagree, mate. In open source, a lot of people do stuff for.
I agree with that. Like there are people working on it, but they're just saying in terms of the rate of progress would be higher and faster, and maybe already done if the financial incentive had been aligned.
Yeah, possibly. Yep, I agree. Yeah,
and remember this whole idea that people will ultimately fall to a position of opting for convenience over security to a degree, like as in for the majority of people, convenience outweighs security. So if they're like, oh well, there's this bridge here and it does have a trust element, but it gets the job done, people will just use it. So but I think we're moving in the right direction, and it's no doubt a matter of time, right? Like I really do believe that.
So what happened last cycle was we had the original DEXs. I can't remember what they were called. Ether Delta and
Ether Delta.
They were horrible to use. And
they were decentralized exchanges, but with an attempt to make an order book rather than an AMM.
Yeah.
They were horrible. McAfee DEX,
awful to use. Yeah.
Do you remember McAfee tried to use his make a DEX? Man, that one was so buggy you couldn't use it. Like as in it was literally unusable. It wasn't just like bad. It was unusable.
And I don't know whether this was me just not paying attention, but I had no clue Uniswap was even a thought. And then that just got dropped, and that was an absolute game changer. And I don't know whether you were aware of that. Was there? Were you keeping an eye on anything like that, or was that just
for me?
Out of the blue?
It came out of left field as well. Yeah, I wasn't. Yeah. It was a very sudden thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And I think part of the thing that blew the awareness up, obviously Richard and Hex community, but also the actually, it didn't even have a token. But I think, sorry, some of his other projects. So there was eyes on this guy because of other projects that he was creating. Although I don't know what. No, actually, they may have come subsequently. But still, when he made subsequent products like Wi-Fi, the letter Y, and people started to be like, this guy's a genius, and they were looking at all his other shit that may have helped to actually like.
Yeah, you're talking about Andre.
Andre, yeah.
Yeah, was he involved in Uniswap? I thought that was
Uniswap.
Hayden.
I'm pretty sure it was. Oh shit! Have I been getting that wrong?
I
thought that was an Andre.
I don't know, it could be.
I think you might be right. It was some guy called Hayden. Someone.
Yeah, no, Andre's left the space. He made out like a bandit and just
Andre has
relaxed on an island somewhere.
Andre has left the building.
He's living on an island somewhere, backstroking in all his millions.
Oh, thanks for correcting me on that.
Here's a comment from Abracadabra. A hybrid order book and AMM together would be great.
Yeah, sorry,
you know what? A hybrid. I would like an AMM with a privacy solution incorporated into the AMM. That would be fucking game changer.
I have been getting that wrong for a really long time, Jexer. I have been crediting Andre Cronje for the creation of Uniswap for a really long time. Shit. But yeah,
I thought I heard someone was working on a hybrid one at some point. I thought that was the next thing that. Oh, was it the Uniswap guys that were working on it, or I don't know. I thought I heard the whispers of that, but.
Yeah. But yeah, so I agree with you. That's gonna be next level shit, man. I can't wait. I can't wait for that shit.
If that's all we get out of next cycle, I'd be happy. That would make everyone's life a little bit safer. And a pulse chain launch, yeah, that'd be pretty handy. One day.
In fact, my thirst for bridges will be, will it be more or less? I think for me personally, my thirst for bridges is actually going to go down because I'm going to be so I'm going to be so focused on pulse chain. I'm not really going to be thinking about bringing shit in and out. I'm just going to be there. And because I sacked, I'm not going to really need to bring economic energy in. So I really think this is a very personal thing. I'm sure for other people, it'll probably increase their thirst for it, wanting to get there and get out and stuff like that. But for me personally, I think my thirst for bridges is going to go down a lot once pulse chain exists.
Yeah. Well, I haven't really used a centralized exchange for a long time, but I've gone back to using one just to bridge across into ETH POW. Like, this is the only way you can move around at the moment. So as soon as if we get that right, do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite
bridge at the moment for that?
I've been using MEXC.
Oh, I thought that was a centralized exchange.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It is.
Sorry. You're using it like a bridge. Yeah. Same.
Yeah. So that it shows that that's still the weak point that we have. We need to get that right. We can get rid of that component.
The good thing about MEXC actually, and I don't want to shill centralized exchanges, although Richard kind of did it. I think he mentioned Deribit for options trading in one stream. So I don't feel quite as bad about doing this, but they seem to be the exchange that is on top of listing new shit immediately. So there was a period in the past where that was KuCoin. KuCoin was KuCoin would be like right on top of that shit. And so if there was a new coin, you could usually trade it on KuCoin. Now that MEXC exchange, they've been very quick to get new shit listed. Now there's obviously risks involved in that because if they're racing to always be the first, they may list scams. So people need to be aware of that shit. Don't take it as an endorsement. But I just noticed they were fast with ETHW. They've got, I think, do they have Hex on proof of work Hex? Bitrue, which I assume is some Russian exchange, has actually got proof of stake Hex, and also ETHW, Yeah, so I went there to do what you were doing with the ETH, like to try and use it a bit like a bridge, and didn't even realize that Hex was on there because I just never searched it. And then someone told me, "Yo, Hex is also on that exchange." I was like, "No effing way!" And it is.
Cool.
So there's a Hex order book on that exchange. Yeah.
So, I think the thing about the speed, and I could be wrong here, but did KuCoin start accepting fiat money?
I think they do actually.
That's where things change.
I want to throw out a warning about KuCoin. This has not happened to me personally, but I'm told that if you go onto Reddit and search, I think this is either like Red Squirrel or someone else that's really active in my ETHW chat that warned me. They sometimes do selective KYC, so they don't KYC the entire user base, but every now and then they'll just like randomly pick people and tell them that they have to KYC, which is like worse than them doing like a blanket one where they warn everyone and be like, "Hey, we're implementing KYC." And then you can warn your friends like, "Hey, if you use this exchange, you will have to KYC." This is like a really weird scenario. And at first I was like, surely they can't do that. But apparently if you look on Reddit, you'll see lots of people complaining about it, that sometimes they'll just pick a user or multiple users, tell them that they have to KYC. And if you care about that shit, that would be quite and obviously usually it's accompanied with, you can't withdraw your shit until you do.
You can't. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So I've got a lot of love for KuCoin because of those trading bots that they've got that I love to use. But this was, so I've always been quite like pro that exchange for small amounts of funds just to play around with those bots. But now that story scared the shit out of me, where I'm like, okay, this is another reason to not be on any exchange, even the ones you think you can trust.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the biggest thing that I changed in the way I dealt with crypto, and this is a direct result of Richard.
Yes,
is I just part of my process now is if I move something to exchange, do what I've got to do, move it back off. Like I just don't leave anything sitting on there now. That's
man.
I've just got into good habits with doing that.
As I started like fucking ramping back up into like full Hex Maxi mode, I was thinking back about all the amazing shit that Richard Hart has said and done. Now I know this gets said a lot by people who are like real full fanboys and stuff like that of Richard Hart, but when you think about the amount, the stuff that he has done for the space generally is just too much to list. It's too much to list. And it's things like that are so critical, like getting your shit off exchange twice now, both projects, Bitcoin's off exchange, ETH assets and ERC20s off exchange. Educating people that trading will get you wrecked, the leverage will get you wrecked, that being on an exchange at all is just a constant risk. These are things that Bitcoiners try to educate people on to know real effectiveness for many years of crypto's existence. And then Richard comes in and brings it in a way where it actually works for, and with various factors.
That's right. Well, it would encourage that behavior.
That's always been
in
his
saying that though, mate.
As a Bitcoiner though, as well. That's always been his ethos as a Bitcoiner. So he's
how's the Celsius docs? How's the Celsius docs? If you use Celsius, your name and your crypto addresses are now a matter of public record. Because yes, dude, because Mashinsky. So Hexicon's not affected. Hexicon's not affected because you know what? We did our shit on chain. We did our yield on chain with no one having our name, address, social security number, mobile phone number, driver's license number, address, like physical address, crypto address, amount of money. You can go on this Celsius, there's a website for it, and you can either look at like a leaderboard. By the way, Simon Dixon's not even in the top 10. I was like, is this list even right? Simon's meant to be like right near the top. He's like number 14. There are dudes that lost literally hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. Like,
did you see the CoffeeZilla thing on Alex Mashinsky?
Yes, where he calls out the wife as well, where he calls out the wife.
The wife's addresses and all of that. Like, yeah.
What I
Dude,
love,
that was hardcore. That shit was hardcore because he was saying we're just holding, we're not doing anything. Meanwhile, at the same time, on chain, they're fucking selling. They're like selling.
They're just extracting, like withdrawing.
But he's telling everyone, he's telling everyone that he's not selling, and he's also freezing their accounts at the same time.
Wait, by the way, if people were willing to learn from history, that's exactly what happened with Mt. Gox, the OG crypto exchange collapse. Roger Ver was on screen, allegedly or suspected to be paid by them to try and calm the community down. There's a video of Roger Ver where you can see his eyes shifting from side to side. So people suspect that he's reading a written statement that is like, hey, everybody, everything is fine. No need to worry. No need to withdraw your shit. Everything's just going to be just fine. And then, boom, collapse. And the conspiracy theory or whatever is that they allowed him to withdraw all his shit for the cost, for the payment being that he would calm everyone else down to not get them to do a run on the bank, so to speak. So if people were willing to look at historical shit, they would have known that was a risk being involved in something like Celsius. And then when you see the founder saying shit like that, being like, no, everything's fine, a la Bear Stearns, that's when you know, oh shit, this is actually concerning.
Yeah.
But by the way, I don't in any way,
founders telling you that everything's fine. Sorry, you go.
By the way, I do not in any way endorse CoffeeZilla. Fuck that guy. He did say Hex was a scam. So fuck that guy. But what he was saying is he was pointing out facts, right? There were facts. There were things that were on chain. And another guy who's dodgy as fuck. You know that Cryptos R Us guy, that George guy?
Yeah.
He was also like talking about Celsius and how good it is and how, everything was all right. Meanwhile, withdrawing shit out. So listen, those guys don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck about anyone, man. They're out there just to get there. They don't give a fuck.
I actually want to come back to a comment you made, Agent.
Yeah.
About Maxi's educating people get their shit off exchange. They were until the point when they owned a piece of the exchanges. So
yes.
BlockFi.
Yeah.
So they were all about.
That's a good point.
They were all about self-custody until they had a foothold and they're getting attention from institutions and things like that. And I was like, oh, guys, if you want yield, you can come and deposit your shit over here. So they're not squeaky clean.
Yeah, you're right. So this always comes down to financial incentive, right? So things like ref links and things like exchange ownership means that then people are going to change their tune because there's a financial incentive for them to encourage that type of behavior. Whereas Hex has created the financial incentives from the ground up to be the opposite and incentivize the actual genuine cypherpunk level positive behavior. So that anyone that's, do you know what I mean? So that anyone that's in the Hex community.
That's why RH went so hard on McCormack, because they're sitting there saying unconfiscatable and all this other bullshit, yet here, get your shit onto exchange and trade. And
station sponsor is a exchange. Yes. Yep.
So they've got a little bit to be responsible for in this particular cycle, especially because everyone got so wrecked.
And I'm not even saying that involvement in an exchange necessarily makes you a bad person, right? Like, as in, I think ex-Kraken CEO Jesse Powell is like a true believer in crypto and preaches the correct ethics and that sort of thing. Haven't heard much about the Winklevi twins lately at all. Have you guys? Have they just been keeping a low profile or something? I just haven't heard shit about them lately. I
think they've had their fair share of issues as well, where they had a hack or something.
They start a band. Aren't they touring?
Yeah. Lol.
No. I'm joking. I'm not joking. I believe.
Well, I think they're the Island Boys or some shit.
Bro, the Winklevoss twins have a fucking band and they're touring the country. It's not even a joke. It's real.
They're doing a Kanye. Look.
You can't make this shit up, man. You can't make this shit up.
I'm never going to grab someone and be like, bitch, stay in your lane. That's not me, right? Be as creative as you want. But sometimes if you're already killing it in a certain area, you need to factor in, like, how much is that going to distract you from your main shit that you're already killing it in? So like Kanye's out there, like literally one of the greatest musical artists that exists, wanting to be like an architect and a fashion designer. So
is it like Jordan going and playing baseball?
Yes.
Exactly.
Or exactly was it Lewis? There was an F1 driver who went to rally. Was it Lewis Hamilton? So there was, I forget which. I don't think it was Lewis Hamilton, but there was an F1 driver who went and did rally for a season or two, and then came back to F1. It's although at least they're both driving, right? Like they're both racing, so there would actually be quite a lot of. Oh no, it was Iceman. It was Kimi Räikkönen. I'm pretty sure it was Räikkönen that went and did rally. But I heard it was quite good, but didn't win races or something like that. Look, reaction time, all that shit is portable, portable skill sets. So that one's probably not the best example, but certainly Jordan playing baseball. Holy shit. Both sports, but just completely different. So everyone's allowed to do what they want. You can switch lanes if you want, but just be aware that when you're already the best, when you're already like the greatest that ever existed in a certain field, then just consider the opportunity costs.
Cool.
We've been going for almost 2 hours, guys. So is there anything that you want to say before we wind up?
I guess I want to reiterate my maxiness. I'm going full balls out Hex maxi. I almost said Bitcoin maxi because it's so like the term is so like ingrained. Like in terms
please tell us how maxi you are.
You associate.
Please tell us.
You associate the term maxi with Bitcoin now as like a negative thing. So not only am I going full Hex maxi, but I'm going to reinvent the maxi term so that it becomes a positive thing by being a hex maxi. So it's mainly like, what am I doing to be a hex maxi? I guess I'm consolidating economic energy into hex from other chains. I don't really care how long the Pulse launch is out. I want to start. It was something that I didn't do for a long time in terms of pulling economic energy back off other L1s and other L2s that I've sort of, my shit has spread out to, and just getting it back to ETH and back into hex for the copy that eventually will come. What else? Things, and even economic energy that's within the same chain. I learned a lesson from that ETH.W fork, where I was luckily on there early, where I was able to dump stables and other tokens into hex at the start, right? And that play worked very well for me. However, it would have been easier and less stressful if I had just done it before the fork and already, because remember that it looks like I got an awesome deal, but I just got the correct ratio that already existed on the other chain. It was just that post that, those things went crashing down so crazy that it looked like I got a better deal. I just got the regular deal and everyone else got a shit deal after that. Like once you get like time-wise after that, right? The people who did the best were actually people who brought in new economic energy at the start. And so they bridged in or brought in or exchanged in ETH.W and bought hex with that ETH.W. That in hindsight, that was the ultimate play.
I disagree.
But well, those guys made like that was like a 400x.
But you
or
had infinite.
It's crazy.
But you had infinite X. Stablecoins were worth shit.
Yeah, I got infinite X on those stables that I traded out because they went to zero. But
yeah.
But remember what I said about the game of like how you're trying to collect as much of the coin as possible. So let me say it that way, that the people who brought in even a small amount of economic energy, like say like a few $100 worth of ETH.W and bought hex with it right at the start, they got a lot more coins than just people who were ratio trading their shit. So in terms of, I think that you would have ended up with a bigger bag theoretically by doing that. So, but don't quote me on that. So yeah. I've learned my lesson. I've learned my lesson that I don't want to play these games where I'm waiting for the fork to then make alterations. So let me say why my opinion has changed. Originally, I thought, maybe I want a different split of like asset, like a different portfolio split, a different split of assets on each chain. Like just like how I'm going to have my staking ladders and shit in Hex are going to be different as well. So I was like, I'm going to leave and at the time, gas fees were quite high. So I was like, I'm going to leave my Ethereum shit as is. And then once the fork occurs, I'm going to go straight over there and I'm going to like make all my adjustments to how I want. But now I think it makes more sense for me now with my updated data based on what happened with ETH.W and also like everything else that's going on, changes in market structure and being like what I believe to be quite close to, if not already at the low. For now, I've changed my mind. It makes more sense for me to just all in on Hex in preparation for that fork, so I don't have to like rush and stress when the split happens. And then I've got what I want on both chains. Like, do you know what then I don't have to go through the process of doing things twice where I'm like, okay, adjust this, adjust that. It's just like all in on Hex, and then I'm all in on Hex on both sides of the fork, which is kind of what I wish I had done. If I'd had the hindsight, I would have done that before the other fork. And then now I wouldn't even have any work to do. But yeah, so that's how maxi I'm going. That is how maxi I'm going 43.
Yeah, no, that's pretty good. I think
we're getting a lot of like requests for our segments. Like we haven't been doing our segments lately. People want to know.
Oh, whoops,
people want to know where bitch tits. They want to have our like Hexagon Legends
Hexagon
segment.
Legends was good. That was a nice one today.
I know who doesn't get Hexagon Legend this week.
Who's that?
LOL.
Tangent knows. Yeah. Oh, you interviewed him. Yeah.
The other thing I was going to say, Tangent, is whatever happened on ETH.W, don't expect that to be a repeat on Pulse Chain.
No. Bro, we already learnt that lesson. We already learnt that lesson with another that I won't name fork, bro.
Yeah,
that lesson got learnt. The people that thought they could do a repeat of what happened on ETH on another ETH fork got rickety wrecked. So I'm already well aware of that, but it's good that you mentioned that to the viewers. That is not a guide or script of what is going to happen. I just mean, in a general sense, after experiencing that, it has updated my attitudes. It is an additional piece of data for me that has been factored in with other things as well, and the differences in where we are in the market and a whole range of other things, where my attitude now in terms of how I want to prepare for Pulse Chain is different to how it was then. So the only reason I mention all these things is I don't want people to think like, oh, what Tangent said that, and then now he's like just doing backflips and check. Like, so I'm saying I'm updating my shit with reason, and now I'm full Hex Maxi, and for now, yeah.
It was good to get a trial run. It was good to get a trial run of what the fork could do twice. You got to test it out twice, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, I think people will treat their assets with a different level of care on Pulse Chain. So
I agree.
Just be mindful of that.
I definitely agree. Dexter, any final comments?
I just want to pick up on something that Tangent briefly mentioned, and I think now's the time when you really need to be paying attention. There's a lot of crazy shit going on in the macro world. US dollar, I don't know how much more it can continue to pump. That's got to have some sort of cap on that sometime soon. Crypto has been pretty resilient in the last couple of weeks, even though that's still been pumping. Does that mean we've got a bottom? Who knows? But it feels like we're definitely way down there. So this is the time when you switch on. This is where millions are made next cycle. So if you've hung around this long, don't get lazy now. This is where you can make a big difference.
Good point.
All right, thanks, guys.
If you feel like you're like fed up and sick of it, whether it's Hex or anything else, remember that probably means it's time to do the opposite of what you're thinking.
That's a buy indicator.
It's a buy. That's a buy signal.
I want to thank everyone in the chat. Thank you very much. We get some nice comments like this one. Most informative Hex show out there. Thank you, guys. Thank you to all the Hexicans.
That Red Bull can won't drink itself.
You don't drink Red Bull on stream, do you? I had one.
I'm giving Claz Hexican Legend of the Week for that comment. That is legendary. Richard would absolutely love that comment. That is fucking sick.
And for also, she's been rallying some of the Hexican ladies, and I've seen you done a stream. Was it yesterday? I think you put one together. So yeah, well done for getting out there and doing that.
All right. Well, in that case, we'll play the Hexican Legends intro as our outro. And thanks to everyone for coming to the stream. We will see you next week. Peace.
Cheers, guys.
Lots of plum trees, a sheep, a two, a kangaroo, a clothesline out the back.
That's a knife. All I had was me undies on.